Oh my god. But yeah, enough about my birthday. Someone else has a very special birthday coming up shortly after this episode comes out. And do you know who that is, Ian?
No.
Je- Je- Jesus.
I it's not true because he was not born on December 25th.
It's Happy Birthday, Jesus. Happy birthday, Jesus. I am so happy that it's Jesus' birthday and that we can enjoy all of the amazing Christmas movies that come out around the time that Jesus was born. That is a fact. You can't disprove it because you weren't there. Um, so I thought before we get into the ritual, which is our exceptional movie that we're going to be talking about today. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the Christmas movies that we grew up with, Christmas movies that we like better than others, good ones, bad ones. I just think it would be nice to go over it because we're so bad at making seasonal episodes that this is my best attempt.
Right. Fair.
Yeah. So, what like in your mind, what's the first Christmas movie you can think of? Like what's the one that comes to your mind when you think of a Christmas movie?
As in, like, the most iconic or, like, my favorite?
I don't, not even either of those. Like I guess to be more basic, what's the first Christmas movie you remember watching?
Hmm. It's a fair question. I mean, to be honest, like, when you think of, like, Christmas, like, I think of, like, specials before movies, like The Grinch or Charlie Brown. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, when I was a kid, first one, I mean, Christmas Story was very early on. That would have been one of the first ones I watched. I
Oh
watched
wow,
that because
yeah.
that was one where they had it, like, on all the time on television, and there was, like, a channel that played it literally 24/7, like, in anticipation for Christmas. And yeah, so that would have
Wow.
been one of them. Home Alone, I guess, would be another one for sure that I watched when I was a kid, a lot. So, uh,
Actually, as a kid, I never saw the first Home Alone until I was like 10 or 11. I every year I would watch Home Alone 2. I don't even know how it happened because it would always just be on TV, but I'd never seen the original Home Alone. It was like every time I was at my grandparents' place or something, they were playing Home Alone 2. Now that I've seen Home Alone 1, I really wasn't missing much because they are essentially the exact same movie with a difference in setting. That's the only thing that's different.
yeah. And actually, there's, like, some parts of Home Alone 2 that are actually just as iconic as the first one. Pretty much Tim Curry as the hotel manager is the reason to watch. But
Yeah. One thing I thought was really weird about Home Alone 2 is it's a lot less cartoony when you get down to like the robbers and like how they get like tricked into these like traps and stuff. Like everything is a lot more brutal and violent. It's like they looked at the first movie and thought it wasn't violent enough and everything needed to be a whole lot more gritty and I don't want to say realistic, but like that iconic shot of Pesci getting his head caught on fire in Home Alone 1 is like is redone in this movie, but it's just like his head is just on fire and he's burning, and it's a whole lot more upsetting.
yeah, Home Alone 2 definitely made me
Yeah,
want to throw bricks at people from a rooftop because I thought that'd be funny. Thankfully, I never
yeah,
did it. Thankfully, no, I never did it, but that would have ended badly.
yeah. Like that is again. That's what I'm saying. That's like one of the most brutal things that happens in that whole series, which is funny because Home Alone is just one of those series that had one good movie, one pretty good movie, and then just a whole bunch of misses. Like you really, I don't know how many times you need to try to make a follow up to a movie like this before you realize that there's no way that you're gonna salvage it and make like an actually good movie. It's just its own thing.
I don't think that that was ever the intention for any of the Home Alone sequels past the second one. So I think it was just cash grab stuff. So
Yeah,
that's why.
yeah, which is like, because even I as a dumb kid knew that just from looking at the boxes of these movies, it's like, okay, well, they got a new kid. So like, and I understand that you can make a follow up to a movie while replacing your main character. It makes sense. Well, I guess it makes sense to want if you have a good idea, but at this point, it was just the idea of making this movie into a series is a bad idea because they're all based around kids. So these kids can't return, so you can't like continue to build on these characters as you make more movies. It just has to be a new kid every time because from the old kid grew up.
Yeah.
Like just based on how quickly they grow up.
Yeah, but I actually, if there was a Home Alone sequel that was about adult Macaulay Culkin and it was like a horror home invasion movie, like that would be pretty great. Honestly, I would watch that.
Like Don't Breathe or something. Like just
Yeah,
like it's really like oh, and Macaulay Culkin is having his renaissance. I believe he's getting a lot more popular now in different ways. I guess more online than like how big he was back when in his
yeah, because I think he got into like
in his child star era.
yeah, I think like after his child star era happened, if I'm not mistaken, he got into like drugs and he like went to rehab and stuff. And so, I mean, he pulled himself out of that and he started to like go online and have like a cult following there. But I like I've seen him like on Angry Video Game Nerd and Red Letter Media, and I've seen him with Greg Sestero.
Oh yeah,
And so like he's pretty on the pulse when it comes to like internet memes and stuff. So yeah, it's
yeah,
good to see him
exactly. Which
back.
is great because yeah. Yeah, I guess it's a cliche to think about these like child stars as these washed up nobodies, but that's not him at all. He's clearly found his own niche that he's carved out, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think he has to work another day in his life. I mean, Home Alone, especially around Christmas time, it makes residuals every single year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he probably doesn't need to do anything. He's just able to coast off of Home Alone 2 alone,
yeah,
let alone
exactly.
Home Alone 1.
Yeah, and then every once in
Yeah,
a
he's
while,
set.
somebody will watch My Girl or Getting Even with Dad as well. So it'll be like, yeah,
Or the Good Son. Was that movie with
yeah,
Elijah Wood?
yeah. That was the good son.
Oh, that honestly, I've watched that movie maybe once or twice in my life. I kind of like it. Like it's really dumb, but like it's fun. It's really good in like a cheesy B movie way.
Honestly, I've never seen it other than like the clips that were in the Nostalgia Critic review, and so like
Yeah,
the good son, like it seems so stupid to take seriously. So I mean, I don't. Maybe I would kind of find it funny, but
yeah. In terms of Christmas movies, I was just thinking of like what is the most. Um, I guess the ones that I think about the most when I think about the season, the holidays.
mm.
The first Christmas movie I remember watching is funny. It's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but not the special. It was like a direct to DVD animated Rudolph movie
I remember
where he
that piece
fights
of
like an
shit.
ice queen.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was horrible. And oh my god, it's so terrible. And I remember that was the first that's the first Christmas movie I remember watching, and I watched it again recently with Avery, and it's fucking terrible. Like one of the like what are we doing here types of like writing and decisions, and like the animation is just terrible, and like how did we do this? And I guess I understand that like around Christmas, when it comes to like Christmas and bring back like characters related to like I guess the mythos of Christmas, it's like so easy to just throw together some bullshit and release it, and that's true today even compared to that movie, but it's so hard to actually find something that gives a shit and is not just trying to like pump something out for the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's such a I mean, it's kind of a thing where like everybody kind of knows the whole commercial aspect of Christmas and the criticisms of how cynical it is and stuff like that, and that's very kind of
Yeah,
true, especially with a lot of the stuff that comes out nowadays. But it's funny you mentioned the old Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which was maybe the first one I saw actually, like the first Christmas movie. But I've never seen any of the other Rankin Bass Christmas specials ever. Like I've never seen Santa Claus is
really.
Coming to Town or whatever ones, or yeah, like that's the only one I've seen.
I was about to say Santa Claus is coming to town. Plays in my house at least once a year, even now. Once yeah, no, that was always on TV. That was that. I think I've seen that more than Rudolph, honestly, and that's like one of my favorites. That's just a personal opinion because they all have their ups and downs, but I think it's an interesting take on like I guess the mythos of Santa Claus. I guess
Yeah.
you would say. Um, yeah, I think that one's really good. I think you'd really
Kind of
enjoy
like
it.
Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah. Oh,
That's another good one. The original Miracle on 34th Street. Do not watch the 90s remake with what's her name? Matilda.
oh,
Uh blanking on her name. Fuck.
I am also blanking on her
Mara
name.
Wilson, right.
Mara Wilson. That's it. Yes. Um,
Yeah.
when I think about Christmas movies, like, do you have a movie that your family like watches every year, or is that not a thing? Is it just you just watch whatever's on?
I wouldn't say we have a movie. I mean, we definitely always put on Merry Christmas Charlie Brown. We definitely
Right.
always put on the animated Grinch. We definitely always put I mean, the original animated Grinch because there's another animated Grinch now,
Yeah.
which I've never seen the Illumination one. I'm trying to think. Is there any movie that we? I mean, when we were a kid, like we would always watch A Christmas Story because it always just be on some channel.
Right.
There was always Home Alone would be one that we would watch a lot, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure other than those ones,
Yeah.
but
The movie.
like later on, I started to get into like I didn't see It's a Wonderful Life until I was in like my teens, for
Oh
example.
yeah.
So
See that's how I was with the Christmas Story. I don't know how I managed it, but when I was in my early teens, that's when I first saw it, and it's a really great
yeah.
movie. I wonder if it's more beloved by people who grew up with it, or if it just I don't know. It's hard to say. Um, I know that it's got sequels, and I know that they're all terrible too.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it has two sequels, but they neither of the sequels have anything to do with each other. There's A Christmas Story 2, which is I think like a direct to DVD thing that they did like 10 years ago or something. But I found out in the 90s Bob Clark made My Summer Story, and
Okay.
I've never heard anybody ever talk about it. I looked it up and I found it. I've never heard anything about it, but it does star Ralphie and it does follow them, and I think it might even have like the same narration voice from the original.
Really?
So I've always been intrigued. Like I can't imagine it's that good because I think if it was, we would have heard about it by now or something about it. But
Yeah.
I've always been interested in checking out My Summer Story.
Well, maybe in the summer. Maybe that's one we'll do. In terms of movies that we watch every year, I don't know when it started, but Elf comes on at least once a year. What's your opinion on
Oh
that
yeah, that's
movie?
the one that we watch everywhere. That
Yeah,
is one we watch once a year. Now that I think about it, especially my sister is absolutely obsessed with it. I enjoy
yeah,
Elf. I think it's funny. Yeah, it's like I can understand why people would find it annoying or like some of the jokes don't work, but like I think that it was one of those things where like Will Ferrell was just fresh off of SNL and he
yeah,
wasn't doing like those awful SNL movies like Superstar or Night at the Roxbury that he did. And so
yeah,
like he was he was kind of finding his footing in that like more wide audience thing, and I think Elf is good.
Oh yeah.
I think it's
No.
funny. I don't think it's great, but I think that like I do have a lot of nostalgia for it, and I don't know, like even I can if you're not a fan of Will Ferrell at all, you probably won't like it. I think
Oh
Will Ferrell
yeah.
can be funny, and I think that was one of examples where he was funny. So
Yeah, exactly. There's this over the top type of performance that he's giving in that. Sort of that was pretty popular in the mid 2000s. Even the early 2000s, like he's basically, it's not to the same degree, but Jim Carrey's The Grinch from 2000 or 1999. I can't even remember exactly when it came out, but I remember that movie being on a lot, and I remember my mother hating it. And I remember her because she hates Jim Carrey so much. She hates him with a fiery passion, and I was a big fan of Jim Carrey as a kid. And I wonder, going back to that movie, if it's any good, because like in the moment, it's like, okay, yeah, this Jim Carrey over the top remake of how the Grinch Stole Christmas is probably bad, but like I've been surprised before. Maybe it's okay. I don't. A lot of people these days are calling it like an iconic performance for him, and like I don't know if I would like include that with like Ace Ventura or even anything he did on TV or anything like that. Like it's not quite at the same level, you know.
what did he do on TV other than In Living Color?
Oh, In Living Color is what I meant, but I lost the words.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That is an amazing show. Like in Living Color, I gotta say, just going on a tangent, but other than The Kids in the Hall, that's probably my favorite sketch comedy show of all time. Like I absolutely love it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Jim Carrey is one where like I was a huge fan of him when I was a kid. A lot of his movies are him doing like the over the top cartoony thing, and The Grinch, I think, is one where it doesn't hold up as well as some of like the other ones,
Yeah.
like Liar Liar or like Dumb and Dumber or those type of movies, but or The Mask even. Uh, I will say though, like the amount of like makeup and everything that he goes through and like the costuming for the Grinch and the fact that he's still able to like be super animated in that getup is pretty impressive. And if you watch The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers, you can see how fucking stiff Mike Myers and how
Yeah.
much trouble he's having like moving around in that cat suit. So I mean, like Jim Carrey was able to do a lot more with that than Mike Myers was. But yeah,
Yeah, no, that is another thing is he's almost unrecognizable. Like just so many layers of prosthetics on him. You can barely tell it's him. The only way you can really tell is just
yeah,
from the body language and the characteristics that he shows off, and
and the voice too.
yeah, exactly. It's despite how good the movie may be, his performance is really incredible.
Yeah, and he's actually, even though he retired, he's coming back this weekend to Sonic
Yeah.
the Hedgehog 3. So
Yeah,
I'm excited for
big
that.
movie coming out. I actually haven't seen Sonic 2, but maybe I should check
Oh,
that out
Sonic
and check.
2 is better than the first one. I would recommend it. Because it's just,
Yeah,
there's so many more scenes where it's just not humans, and it's like, oh, it's Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and Eggman. And it looks like this movie's going to be even more like that, but with Shadow. So,
yeah, Keanu Reeves' Shadow, which I think is probably the best choice they could have made for that. Like, I couldn't think of anyone else playing that character. It was just too perfect.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um,
what other what Christmas television specials or stuff do you remember? Like the ones that really stick out in your mind? Are there any of them?
There's a couple. The ones that stick it out in my mind are usually I seek out these Christmas specials whenever they like interest me. Otherwise, it was very hard to keep my attention as a kid. I didn't like tape things very often, but I forced my mother to figure out how the VCR worked to tape Sonic Christmas Blast on Teletoon for me when it aired one year, and I watched it pretty much every and pretty much every Christmas until I lost that tape, and it was really terrible. I'll say in retrospect, it's a terrible Christmas special because it's from the terrible Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog show, which I was really disappointed in. I saw an ad for it on TV, and I was like, "Mom, you need to tape this," and then she taped it, and it was really awful, and I was really disappointed. But as a kid, I was like Sonic pilled beyond like anything you could possibly imagine. So I still watched it, even though I didn't like it.
Actually, I don't think that it's hard for people to imagine that nowadays with the internet and so many people are Sonic filled.
Yeah.
Remember when we made that top 10 reasons Sonic sucks
Oh my
video?
gosh.
That was a highlight
That
of our early YouTube career. But
yeah, for real. Even before we started doing this, I guess not full time, but more seriously, that was such a funny thing to keep going back to every couple of months and just seeing all the comments that were left.
yeah,
Oh
with Sonic Christmas Blast, I remember I actually rented the VHS, or no, I think I bought it. And I was not familiar with the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, the TV show, but I was familiar with the Sonic Sat AM TV show, which I liked way
yes,
more than Sonic X. I liked way more than Sonic Underground, and I thought this was part of the Sonic Sat AM TV show. And then when I watched it, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not like Sonic is the same voice, but that's about it. Like, I was really confused, and it was Deke. So I was like, is this like some weird, like, I don't like, was this some sort of weird special they did that had nothing to do with the rest of the series? And like, so yeah, I was really thrown off by that.
yeah, and but I think there's a character. I think Sally from the Saturday AM series shows up for like 5 seconds, but she's like pink, but it's clearly still here, still her. It's very weird. I was very confused.
It was probably just a reused asset that they had for the.
Yeah, probably.
I actually like that show, The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it's crazy off the wall insanity, but I do think like it's trying to be like a send up of like Looney Tunes and stuff like that. And while I
Yeah,
don't think it's the best send up of Looney Tunes, like it's no Animaniacs or anything like that, but like I think it's kind of fun.
yeah. Like I think it's hard to be compared to Sonic Sat AM, which is like its own thing. Clearly, like it's not that at all. It's very much like a almost like a serious sci-fi show. Um, it's weird that they made two shows. Like, why make two? That's so confusing.
Well, they made three actually. Another one with Jaleel White, which was Sonic Underground, which was
Oh my
actually
god,
kind of
yeah.
trying to be more in the tone of Sonic Sat AM, but that was way worse. And then,
Well, it's because if you ever look at the animation of that show, it's like they had zero money. It's so bizarre. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that show because it was one of those things like where it was on TV while I was in school, and I wanted to talk to people about Sonic, like real Sonic, but all they knew was Sonic Underground, and it made me so frustrated because it was dumb and not right, and it's not that's not real Sonic. Oh,
Sonic Underground, Sonic Underground. I haven't actually. The most recent Sonic show I've watched is Sonic X. I haven't seen Sonic Boom, which I hear is good, and I haven't seen. I think there's a few other shows that came out since then, but I haven't seen them. So
yeah, there's a Sonic there's a Sonic show on Netflix that has its own continuity, and there's also a Knuckles show on Paramount Plus, which I have only heard.
right.
The only thing I've heard about it is it doesn't have Knuckles in it very much. There's like 4 episodes straight where Knuckles does not show up, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Brilliant.
Brilliant. But yeah,
Any
what
other
other?
Christmas
Yeah, I was.
specials you want to mention or Christmas movies?
Yeah, there's
There's actually I can bring something up. So like
yeah.
my therapist is Jewish. So the last year she recommended that I watch Fiddler on the Roof. And so I
Oh
did
really?
because it's a big thing at her household and I did and it's actually pretty fun. Yeah, it's a good little Hanukkah movie, which is kind of an interesting thing that we don't see very much, even though apparently the Jews run Hollywood. We don't get to see that very many Hanukkah movies. So
Yeah, it's
it's like,
weird how that works. You'd think if I ran Hollywood, I would assume that I could make as many Hanukkah movies as I wanted. If gun to my head, if someone told me to name a Hanukkah movie, I wouldn't name Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't know that was about Hanukkah. The only thing I would name was Eight Crazy Nights because the only one I've seen.
yeah, that's fair. That's another one. So
Have you
I
actually
don't know.
seen
There's
that movie?
also the Rugrats specials. No, I haven't.
Yeah, my mother took me to see that because it was like a cartoon and it was the holidays, and she thought it would be a nice movie for us to see, and it was not. She was horrified when she brought with. She almost took me out of the theater, but I didn't want to leave. Man, that's so funny. I've been meaning to go back and watch it again. It sounds like it might be a fun time. But yeah. Yeah, like, you know what? I think the best thing we can do right now, to end off this discussion is the question, and you might groan at this, but I want to ask: what's your position on the Die Hard the Die Hard holiday movie discourse? Like, I don't know if people still debate this at all, but if nobody understands the famous action movie Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis,
I don't think you need to explain. I
I
think
you know
people know
what?
what you're talking about.
Yeah. So is Die Hard a Christmas movie because it takes place on Christmas?
I mean, you could watch it around Christmas. There's no problem with that. It probably.
Yeah.
I wish that every subsequent Die Hard movie took place around another holiday. So, like, one of them would be Halloween, one of them would be Valentine's Day, one of them would be Mother's Day, and then, like, they all had that kind of theme going. I'd be more willing to call Die Hard a full-on Christmas movie if it kept that motif going for its sequels in each one. But I
Yeah.
mean, I won't. I like it's to me. It's just it's not really an important debate. I don't really care. My question
Yeah.
is like, why don't we? Why aren't we talking about Rambo and Lethal Weapon? Because those take place around Christmas too. So why are those never in the
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think about the Rambo, but I watched Lethal Weapon a couple of years ago, and yeah, that movie 100% could be a Christmas movie. Like, that's the
Yeah,
thing. That's the thing is Die Hard. I don't need an excuse to watch Die Hard. Like, it doesn't need to be
yeah,
like what if you watch a Christmas movie in like March or July, like, you're weird. But you can watch Die Hard whenever you want. It doesn't matter if it takes place on Christmas. Labeling it like that will just sort of make you want to watch it on a specific date when you can just watch it whenever. That's the best part about Die Hard.
that's the thing is it might give people incentive to like watch it once a year if they're like interested in it. But
Oh, I guess.
uh, if you're talking about like a non-traditional Christmas movie, I honestly prefer Gremlins to Die Hard. And
Yes,
that's
there
just
now
me.
you're
I mean, I love Die Hard, but I
now we're
love Gremlins
talking.
more.
Oh, I love Gremlins. I'm a big fan of that movie. I'm a big fan of traumatizing kids by getting them to like go to movies that they think are going to be fun from the marketing, and then they're really really dark and violent. It's really great. I
Yeah,
love that.
especially in the '80s, that was a big thing.
Yeah, no more of this. No more of this baby stuff. Get some hair on your chest.
Yeah. So I guess my question to end it off is like, what's your favorite Christmas movie or
Oh
Christmas
boy.
special?
What's my favorite Christmas movie or Christmas special? If we're gonna talk about Christmas specials, again, this isn't based on any like quality or anything, but I think Santa Claus is Coming to Town is the one that I think about the very most. Whenever we think about TV specials, that's probably my favorite. It has a lot of heart, and it makes me think about Christmas, I guess. And I guess that's what was the main idea behind these Christmas specials, was to have like almost like a brand association, but like it works. It
Yeah.
makes it feel like Christmas whenever it's on. Same with like the Grinch and Rudolph. Like it makes you feel in that spirit, especially with because
Yeah.
now that I'm older, again, I'm going to be 30 by the time this episode comes out. Christmas doesn't feel the same as it does when you're a kid. When you're a kid, it's this huge big event, and it just sort of breezes by when you're older, and movies like that help you feel like that childlike sense of wonder, I guess is the best way to put it. It puts you
Yeah.
back in that position when you're older, which I guess that makes me sound pretty old, and I guess that's pretty quick since I haven't even turned 30 yet. But that's what I'll say about Santa Claus is Coming to Town. The other Rankin Bass specials, they make you. I guess not all of them, but the good ones. They make you feel like they make you feel like a kid again when you watch them. In terms of best Christmas movie, whew, that's a that's a really good question. I don't know if I've got like a favorite. It's hard to narrow down because I don't know. There's so many factors to it. I would say I haven't even mentioned it, but I think National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's probably the
Yeah,
one that I
that's a
have
good
the
one.
most fun watching. That's Avery's family's favorite movie to watch around the holidays, and I only started watching it like every year because of Avery's family, and
Yeah.
it's way funnier than when I first started. I was like I remembered it being pretty funny, but every time I watch it, it almost gets funnier. It, I pick up on more things, and it's the thinking man's Christmas movie. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation favorite Christmas movie as of right now.
Fair enough. It's actually kind of funny. I watched that movie a bunch, and I never saw any of the other vacation movies until last year. They were doing like a screening of the original Vacation, so I've only seen two of them now. But like the Christmas one is the one I'm the most familiar with, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah, and so for me, the special's kind of hard for me to pick. Uh, there was one. Well, it's not really Christmas themed, but you know the special called The Snowman.
Yes, I know that one.
Yeah, yeah, the one where like they're flying around and it's like all made out of like, or it looks like charcoal and stuff, and then they have like the songs, and yeah, that's a really great atmospheric. In terms of just
Hmm.
like Christmas atmosphere, I don't think you get can get better than that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, like I don't know, best Christmas special for me though is probably I'm gonna have to go with my boy Charlie Brown. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that there is nothing wrong with Charlie Brown Christmas. Like again, if you want to talk about atmosphere, the soundtrack for that movie makes me it unlocks something primal. It's like it switches me to festive mode, like jolly mode or something. It is just something so simple about it. It just it's perfect.
yeah, and for favorite Christmas movie, it's actually kind of surprisingly an easy answer for me, and it's one that you haven't brought up yet, and I haven't brought up yet, but it's Aardman's Arthur Christmas. So
Oh my god. Yes, Arthur. Oh my god, I hadn't even thought about Arthur Christmas. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
Yeah.
That absolutely. Yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, go check that out. I completely forgot that was Aardman.
yeah, that was one of the two movies that they did that was not claymation, it was CG because they had that big fire at Aardman Studios which burned down a bunch of their stuff, and for years after that like flushed away, and Arthur Christmas was the way that they made movies, even though it was done in the same like kind of stop motion style. And even though it's not stop motion, and I'm a big proponent of stop motion movies and everything. Arthur Christmas still might be my favorite Aardman, all things considered. So it's just how good it is. And they're coming out with a new Wallace and Gromit movie this year. So the world of claymation seems to be lighting up because recently I saw Memoir of a Snail, which was the second movie from Adam
Oh
Elliott,
yeah.
who made Mary and Max, and it was excellent. And everybody should check out Memoir of a Snail. It's probably not going to get a wide release, but whenever you can, I would recommend checking it out.
Awesome. Yeah, check out Memoir of a Snail. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I love stop motion and I guess claymation. It's just got such a charming look to it, and
Yeah.
yeah, check it out.
But actually, it might even be my favorite type of animation, like even more than like traditional 2D animation.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I might go that far.
Yeah. No, it's just there's a level of creativity that isn't present in other forms, and
Yeah,
I can definitely understand where you're coming from.
yeah, exactly. I mean, even like
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Robot Chicken, but I love the animation on Robot Chicken. I think it's absolutely the highlight of the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.